Hi, Dave here. Dems vow to go nuclear if President Trump and the Republican Senate move forward and nominate and confirm a Supreme Court justice before the election. What do they mean by that? Well, we'll get to that in just a second, as this is now the big story, the new big story, one that I guess most of us just did not see coming. You know, you look back, we had just this year, before we get into all the details here, it's just worth reflecting on for just a second about where we stand today here in late September. Now, in the beginning of the year, we had impeachment. Do you remember this? And as trying to convict the president for essentially being a Russian agent. So there was that fight, and then COVID came, and then the protests, and then the riots, and now a Supreme Court fight is the next big thing as we head into the home stretch of the election this year. Nancy Ike says hi from St. Clair, Michigan. Hey there, Nancy. Thanks for joining. Yeah, if you are watching, chime in. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know what you think about this latest and greatest big story that we're all covering. I can see these comments as they come in real time and can react to them. First, if you didn't see my video on Saturday, just scroll down a bit, and that was essentially initial reaction to the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and a little bit of a look ahead, including that just incredible video of President Trump learning for the first time of Justice Ginsburg's death as he was walking to Air Force One away from a campaign event, and the campaign was still playing music. It was Elton John's Tiny Dancer. President Trump is just completely taken aback, and he says she's an amazing woman, and then he walked off onto Air Force One, took off, and here we go. President Trump is going to put forth a nominee. Mitch McConnell has vowed to put a nomination to the Senate. I think right now he's trying to count up the votes. Hi, Nancy. Nancy, what's going on in Michigan? Is it Biden country or Trump country? Let me know. If you all remember the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, which were incredibly contentious, I want to play just before we get into the details of what the Democrats could be planning if a Supreme Court justice gets confirmed before the election. Let's take a little trip down memory lane of what this was all about and the kind of fight that we can expect to see again just before the election if there are hearings. Here, let's take a listen.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsay said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope that...
Y'all want power? I hope you never get it. Well, what will they do with that power? Just going to get to that in a sec. But let's take a look at some of the, I guess I would call them the two front runners that President Trump is likely to nominate to the Supreme Court. We have Amy Coney Barrett. It says here, this is a story here from 6abc.com. Barrett is loved among religious conservatives, a key sector of Trump's base, and an early favorite for the nomination. 48-year-old serves as a judge in the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Seventh Circuit. She's a graduate of Rhodes College and Notre Dame's Law School and a former clerk to Justice Antonin Scalia. And she was the one who was potentially who they thought was going to be the front runner. Oh, Nancy here. Yes, thank you. Trump country in Michigan. Thanks, Nancy. Amy Coney Barrett was the one who was presumed to be the front runner back in last cycle, but instead President Trump named Brett Kavanaugh, who was accused of being a gang rapist, as you heard Lindsey Graham asked him pointedly as the accusations that as a teenager, Brett Kavanaugh would drug girls and rape them with his buddies in some sort of frat boy nightmare scenario that was just patently absurd. And I think most people saw through this as an attempt to just delay the process ahead of the midterms, in fact. Who do we have next here? We have... and then the second one is Barbara Lagoa. Now, I hadn't heard of her, to be honest, before news came out. It says she's a 52-year-old, comes from a battleground state of Florida, and is Hispanic, a demographic Trump has attempted to court ahead of the November election. She's a judge, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit in Atlanta, and she was a justice for the Florida Supreme Court, graduated from FIU, Columbia Law School, and Trump called her an extraordinary person. Another one here is Allison Jones Rushing. They don't have a picture of her, 38, very, very young, so we'll see. And there's another one here, Amul Thapar, 51 years old. So these are, I guess, the considered to be the four. But I think at the top here would be Barbara Lagoa and Amy Coney Barrett. Now, Lagoa, I believe, is also, it doesn't say it there in the article, she's also, I believe, a Cuban American. So she's, I mean, if you're thinking, I mean, what, you're going to nominate someone from Florida will help you win Florida? I don't know about that logic necessarily. So I think, if you're thinking you're going to turn out conservative voters, just get a conservative judge. Doesn't matter where she's from. They'd be happy to get someone on there on the Supreme Court that shares their outlook. And as we saw with calling, so what are they going to do? We saw that the massive hit job they did on Brett Kavanaugh, calling him a gang rapist, all this really crazy stuff. So will they do the same to a woman? Will the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee, would they go after a woman in the same way? And I think we're seeing early signals. Now, I don't think any of these women will be accused of being gang rapists, but they will certainly find something in there. And I think the biggest line of attack is something you're already maybe seeing, particularly when it comes to Amy Coney Barrett, is that she is basically, well, she's a Catholic, strong Catholic. I think both her and Lagoa are both strong Catholics. And the line of attack will be that they are, or at least in the case of Amy Coney Barrett, a religious extremist, someone who's going to bring us back to the dark days where women couldn't go outside or something. I don't know exactly. I mean, a big fight there clearly will be Roe versus Wade, but how will they paint who the nominee is? Now, as for the topic, what do Democrats mean when they say they're going to go nuclear, as I put it? And there's a phrase saying everything is on the table. What is on the table? Let's take a look here from a story from Axios. Democrats' Armageddon option. Furious Democrats are considering total war, profound changes to two branches of government, and even adding stars to the flag if Republicans jam through a Supreme Court nominee and then lose control of the Senate. On the table, guys. Adding Supreme Court justices, packing the court, eliminating the Senate, also eliminating the Senate's 60-vote threshold to end filibusters, and statehood for Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. Says if he holds a vote in 2020, we will pack the court in 2021. Representative Joe Kennedy III says. And then also, well, you know, here, look, they're even going to consider something else here. On ABC's This Week, George Stephanopoulos asked Speaker Pelosi about the possibility of impeaching President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way to stall the Supreme Court confirmation in a post-election lame duck season. Pelosi says, well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss that right now. Now, so that's what they're planning. So we're looking at adding states. Nancy Ike says JFK was Catholic. Yeah, and that was a big. He faced some bias for that as well, right? So I guess if you want to call it anti-Catholic bias, although I believe. Scalia was Catholic. We know Kavanaugh is. I'm not sure about Justice Thomas. So there are a number of Catholics on the Supreme Court, and we could be seeing one more. So what are they going to do? So if you don't, now it's basically a threat, right? And I think there was a quote I read in another article that said, well, this is a hostage situation where the hostage taker has already fired the gun. So what do you do here? I mean, they basically said. By the way, none of these things are new. Eliminating the filibuster, packing the Supreme Court, adding Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico as states, none of this is new. This didn't come up in the wake of Justice Ginsburg's death and the possible nomination of a Supreme Court justice. This is stuff they've been planning for a while. They've already been talking about this. It's been out there in the news, and the importance of statehood. Nancy Pelosi says she's Catholic. Nancy, yes, she does say that, and Joe Biden as well, I believe. And so, but back here real quick, the issue is none of these things with their quote going nuclear and now everything is on the table. These are plans they've had in the works for a while. Why? I mean, they opposed Brett Kavanaugh ostensibly because he was a gang rapist or something. But it was really, if you go back to the rhetoric that they use, and I think you might have heard a taste of that from Lindsey Graham, because President Trump, you see, was a Russian stooge and an agent of the Russian government and did whatever Putin wanted him to do. He's an illegitimate president. He won the Electoral College, but he didn't win the popular vote. So how can such a corrupt and illegitimate president be able to nominate someone to a position as important as the Supreme Court? That was one of the arguments put forward. Still there today. I mean, just because President Trump he was cleared of impeachment doesn't mean he's still not a Russian stooge, guys. He's illegitimate, and he's planning to steal this election. And so we can't allow this horrible orange man to confirm a third Supreme Court justice and then get reelected and then see what happens. So that's what the idea is here. So to the Democrats, the argument is fairness. So we would have ostensibly a 6-3 court if Trump got somebody, and that's not fair. Fairness is defined by whether or not my side wins, I think, ostensibly. And adding D.C. and Puerto Rico as states, what would that do? Well, both of those new states, if we would have a 52-state country, would both be heavily Democrat, which would mean they would elect 2 senators each. So 4 senators, and presumably all 4 of those senators would be Democrats. So that is essential. So it's a way of basically packing the Senate and packing the court in a sense. And it is interesting actually because there is no the Supreme Court as defined. There is no number. FDR thought about doing this back in the 30s or the 40s. I'm not sure exactly when, but he considered packing the court. There is no. We currently have 9 justices, but there's nothing in the Constitution that says there has to be 9. There could be 3, I guess, or 100. So there's nothing stopping that. It would be interesting. I'd be curious to think what you all think of this. Should the Supreme Court, this is just sort of a side topic, but should the Supreme Court be set at 9 justices so we don't see these kind of shenanigans going on here? Bottom line for me, the Democrats have already said. The Democrats have already said this stuff about adding D.C. and Puerto Rico as a state, packing the Supreme Court, ending the filibuster. This stuff was already on the table. It was on the table before. Now it's just sort of this weird, like, well, you did a bad thing, so now I really got to do the bad thing that I was talking about doing before. Now I have no choice. And I think that hostage analogy is a good one. They're going to do it anyways. So why not get a Supreme Court justice while you can? There's nothing says you can't nominate or put through or confirm a Supreme Court justice in an election year. I believe that there's a number out there. I believe the number is historically 29 justices have been confirmed in an election year. Now, circumstances might be different. This is just what it really is. It just all comes down to power. Who has the power and who can wield it? And when you hear the talk from the other side about what they might do with power, and as Lindsey Graham says, if y'all get power, God help you, or whatever he says. Well, that's what they're planning. They were planning it already. They're planning it now. If they get the Senate, that's what they're going to do. If they get Biden, they win the Senate, they're going to try to push all this stuff through to make it fair. Right, they're gonna pack the court to make it fair, which would be what they say. So that's what we've got now. As I think what they're doing now, there was some thought just before I get out of here. There was some thought that President Trump could nominate someone as early as tomorrow. Now I'm not sure on the timing of that. I think as Justice Ginsburg, I don't know when her funeral is. That may be tomorrow as well. So I would imagine, my guess would be that President Trump may wait for the funeral maybe to go to end before he puts someone out. But I don't know. It remains to be seen. But those two, Amy Coney Barrett and Barbara Lagoa, are the two front runners. as President Trump is weighing who he's going to put forth, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is basically, I would say, he's trying to whip up the votes. Now, we've seen two defections from Republican senators, from Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine. Both have said that they will not vote to confirm a Supreme Court justice nominee before the election. So those two are out. So McConnell basically has to try to get everybody else on board and to confirm, because I think we're just looking for a simple majority here. It remains to be seen. It seems like Lindsey Graham is on board. He made some comments, I think, back in either 2018 or 2017, saying something to the effect that maybe we wouldn't do this to push somebody in an election year, but I think he's changed his mind. And Mitt Romney is really the big one. I think if Romney defects, there may not be enough votes, or I don't have the calculus in front of me, but I think Romney's the outstanding one. And I'm not sure if there is a tie if Mike Pence can come and break it. But that seems to be the fight right now, is McConnell to whip up votes. So, I mean, there is an outside chance, or maybe a decent chance, that enough Republicans will defect, and then McConnell just won't have the votes, and which, as a consequence, means President Trump will not put forth a nomination. But expect, so this is still a fast-moving thing, as we're basically in the fallout of this. And as we're battling, and then that could just, even, let's just a scenario where McConnell doesn't have the votes, where enough Republican senators say, I'm not going to vote. This will become a campaign issue. And what will it do to drive out voters on either side? Will conservatives be like, we really gotta elect Trump. We really gotta keep the Senate majority so we can put forward a nominee right after the election? Or on the other side, enthusiasm for the Democrats to come out there and to not allow President Trump to get another Supreme Court nominee, and instead, and potentially to push for statehood in D.C., statehood in Puerto Rico, pack the court. Maybe, how many would they do? Just enough to get a majority, maybe, or why stop there? Just we could have 30 justices. I don't know. It'd be interesting if there should be some sort of a legislation passed to limit the Supreme Court to 9. It's an interesting topic. I wanted to jump in to let you all know what the latest fight is, what the Democrats' plan is, or at least their threats of a plan if President Trump does go forward. Though I think all this, what they're saying now is what they say now is on the table, was already on the table. They were planning all this already. So nothing for them has changed other than just putting the threat out, maybe to scare off Republicans potentially. And the two frontrunners, Amy Coney Barrett and Barbara Lagoa, those are the two to keep an eye on, and the two potentially that President Trump will put forward for confirmation hearings as we head into this home stretch of the election. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. If you're watching here on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching here on Facebook, also please hit the like button and share this video to your friends. This is really important stuff going on right now. And of course, head on over to informedamerican.com, where you can get real smart news. Thanks so much for watching.